I have seen this album suddenly start popping up out of nowhere on sort of like, tweets that people are is it even called tweets anymore? I don't even friggin' know what the word would be. Zeets, maybe? Who friggin' knows? But of course, on that website, people are suddenly out of nowhere starting to praise Chappell Roan and label this album as one of the best pop albums of the year. And I was gooped. I was like, I don't even know what this is. I should know this. I keep up to date with music. I know the things that happen. And I didn't know what this was. So I was pretty surprised. I mean, it was a pretty bold claim to make, given the fact that we have seen quite some decent pop albums coming out this year, some really good ones actually. And you would usually expect the conversation to be circulating around ones that maybe get mentioned quite a lot. Perhaps even Olivia Rodrigo. I wouldn't be too surprised to see people mention her in this kind of conversation. It's not fully pop, but Lana Del Rey dropped a really acclaimed album this year. Even Carly Rae Jepsen has her stans that adore what she does. And yeah, of course you'd see those albums get labeled that. But this one, I was like, okay, this must be something interesting then, because I didn't know what it was. I've checked it out. I've got to say, yeah, I'm pretty much on board with the claims people are making. The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess is an album that I think is totally worthy of that accolade for 2023. I think it's really good. I've been pretty impressed with listening to this album and finding out this is actually only her debut. She's actually been sporadically dropping a lot of singles that have popped on this album for quite a few years now. You can kind of date it back to even 2020, where Pink Pony Club, as far as I'm aware, actually came out way back then. And then there's some singles last year, like Femininomenon, which came out, last year, but is on this album from this year too. So yeah, she's certainly been around, probably attempting to generate some buzz and hype, which is great. And it might have worked in her favor, because like I say, there is a bit of buzz around her now. And it's probably a good place to start with Pink Pony Club, actually, because this is a track that I think kind of captures the essence of what she is attempting to do. This kind of carefree, brash, in-your-face, anthemic pop that is super catchy, super recognizable, and has a distinct quality to it that I'm only really picking out from her. Like, yeah, sure, she'll have her influences, but a track like this with the chorus and the kind of topic she's singing about feels very much on brand for one particular person, and I'm not really hearing other songs like this anywhere else. Phenomenon, I've already mentioned as well, kicks off the album, kind of like a real statement to start things off. I mean, it's very much just kind of like boss ass bitch kind of coming through with a pop banger. It kind of feels like a return song, like a bitch I'm back kind of song, like a singer's been away for a few years. They've come back. They want to kind of make a bold statement. They want to kind of show you that they're a little bit different now, and they want to show you that they've got a bit of angst and flair to them. Well, this is kind of this track, but except it's like the first song on a debut album, so the confidence already to ooze this kind of thing, I think it only goes to speak volumes for how Chappell is maybe ahead of her years in that kind of sense. Then you've got Red Wine Supernova, which is a super anthemic track. Wow, the chorus hits like a train on this one. And then I've got to mention what the best track on this album is. Super Ultra Graphic Girl, however, modern, whatever order it all goes in, I'm always going to forget what that title is, I'm not going to lie to you, is a great song. This is one of the best pop songs of the whole year. Easy contender for being on my year-end list, that's without a shadow of a doubt. Oh wow, her vocals go off the chain on this one. The chorus just feels so big and just full of life. Like, it is so catchy, it's so well produced, it's a fantastic track, and just a song like this is enough to make you hear it and go, oh wow, she is going to be something massive one day if she can keep up this kind of trend of brilliant anthemic pop songs. It's so good. Tracks later on like Picture You and also Naked in Manhattan, which is a super silly, carefree track, kind of brings to the table that she is very much someone that just wants to show a bit of that silly side to her and just kind of wants to have fun. Kink Is My Karma is a track I want to mention as well, as I feel like this is one point where her influences are so clear and written like on her sleeve so plainly that you can read it from a mile away, and that is Taylor Swift. I mean, of course Taylor Swift's had her impact, but this track for me was just so much of a dead ringer for Taylor. I was really surprised to hear that much influence. I mean, the Kink is My Karma idea just feels so like of something Taylor would say herself, but then the actual like instrumentation and the way she's kind of like doing a bit more of like a softer vocal delivery sounds so much like something that would have come from like 1989 or even Midnight's. Like, definitely feels very much of that ilk. I'm sure, you know, anyone that loves Taylor would love this track. Before I sign off though, because I have mentioned a lot of the tracks here, and I think a lot of them do a similar thing, which isn't a bad thing at all, by the way. They're all very super anthemic, super poppy, super teen spirited as well, even though she isn't a teenager, but they have that kind of energy to them. I do want to mention Coffee and Casual, because these tracks feel to me like a totally different side to what she was presenting across most of this album, and she kind of strips things back and goes really deep and has a really emotional delivery on these two tracks as well. And I think they're really smart lyrically too. They're kind of depicting like modern relationships, you know, particularly Casual, which I think kind of just perfectly summarizes a lot of people's confusion with how so many different labels come out these days with how you're supposed to be with somebody, but it's not actually a real relationship. I mean, I've heard a lot more these days something called like a situationship, which sounds super silly and just only built for people to get hurt, honestly. But these kind of modern day views on how we're supposed to get with people and how you kind of take it further beyond casual, as she talks about on the track, just seems to be so confusing. I think it's a very relatable and really well written song too. You know, you invited me round to meet your parents, is it still casual now? Like that, those kinds of lines I think are really smart, I think are really well written. And similarly with Coffee too, I just think they're both really smartly put together tracks that again just depict the struggles that we seem to be seeing more and more of with modern day relationships. It's just a continuous like cluster mess of everything that you just don't really know what's what and who wants this and if they really want more than what it is. Yeah, she does a good job. With all that being said, I think it's a very good album. I think it falls short slightly of being great though. For me personally, I think towards the end some of the tracks do start to bleed into one another. The silliness gets a bit much. I think she probably could have tidied up some of the writing, particularly in like Naked in Manhattan. I mean, that track I just think is going a bit too far on the silly end of things. But I like what she's doing. I like that she has this kind of I don't really care energy about her, but she's not annoying with it either. Like some artists can be like, I don't care, but they throw it and shove it in your face and it gets really irritating quite quickly. She doesn't do that. There's a bit more of a likability about what she's doing, and the songs are just really good too. So yeah, I like it. I want to see more of the emotional side coming out in the future. I think she killed that part of the album, and I also want to keep seeing more bangers too, because I think there's a hopeful future for Chappell Roan, and I think this album is showing us that. I just think maybe we're not quite there yet, but even still, very, very good album. Definitely one I'm going to consider for a year-end list, or at least an honourable mention. So for me, it's a 7.5 out of 10. And that's it from me. Please tell me your thoughts in the comments if you've heard this already. If you haven't and you're just finding out about this now, well, go check it out. I think you'll be quite impressed with what you hear. And then you got to let me know what you think as well. So thank you as always. Tell me what I should review next on the channel, what is out that I'm missing at the moment. Please subscribe, check out my Patreon as well. Have a good day and goodbye.